Hi, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joyofbaking.com. Today we're going to make individual Paris-Brest, and this is what it looks like. This French pastry takes a ring of choux topped with almonds. You slice that in half and fill it with this deliciously creamy, smooth hazelnut praline cream. So we're going to start with our hazelnut praline cream, actually called a hazelnut mousseline. There's three components to this. You have, and this is so good, the hazelnut praline paste. I could just eat that with a spoon. So you need that. You will need some butter and pastry cream. So we're going to first make our pastry cream. So in a medium-sized saucepan, you will need 1 1/4 cups, which is 300 milliliters, 300 grams of milk. Now, for the richest tasting pastry cream, you want to use a full fat, a whole milk. You can get away with a 2% reduced fat, but that's it. You know, no skim here. We need some fat to make this a really nice cream. And then you will need altogether 1/3 cup, 65 grams of granulated white sugar. But we're going to divide that, and I'm going to put like half of the sugar, about 30 grams, in with the milk. And then we're going to just heat that up, medium-high heat. We're going to bring that to a full boil to when it just starts to foam up. So you don't want to walk away. And while that's happening, in a heat-proof bowl, I'm going to put the remainder of the sugar, like about 35 grams. I mean, you can eyeball this. Doesn't have to be exact. And then we need a thickener to thicken our pastry cream. So you will need 2½ tablespoons, 23 grams of cornstarch. And then I'm just going to whisk this together. To that, I'm going to add 4 large egg yolks. That's about 65 grams. And have your egg yolks at room temperature. Put that in there. And then we want to whisk that right away. You don't want this to sit too long, this mixture, because actually you can get what is called burn the yolks. So you want to do this while that's heating up, because you don't want to leave this like a half hour sitting like this, or it won't be good. So there we go. And let's bring this up, like I said, to a boil. As you can see, starting to foam up. Get that off the heat. And then we're going to gradually add our hot milk into our egg mixture. You want to whisk constantly. Put a little in and whisk that in. It's called, we're tempering. And then you can add the rest in a stream. If you found that you got a little bit of cooked egg, you maybe put it too much or didn't stir enough, then just strain your mixture before we put it back in our saucepan. So I'm just going to put that back. And now we're going to cook this. So you can either use a wooden spoon, or I'm using a silicone heat-proof spatula. So now we want to bring this up to a boil, medium heat, and stir constantly. Okay, so you're starting to get some bubbles. So I'm going to reduce the heat, and then I have a timer. We want to cook this. Keep it at like a low boil for 2 minutes, and that's going to cook out that starch. We don't want a starchy taste to our pastry cream. Stir this constantly. Adjust your heat if you have to. Okay, we're almost there. Close enough. Turn that off so it doesn't beep. Okay, take that off the heat. And you see, isn't that gorgeous? Creamy, smooth, so good. Now I'm going to flavor, you don't have to, but I'm going to actually flavor my pastry cream with a half teaspoon, 2 grams of pure vanilla extract. You can leave that out, or you could add like a hazelnut liqueur. I think that would be like to enhance that hazelnut flavor. So that is our pastry cream. So what I have here is, I mean, you could put it in a bowl, but I have a baking sheet lined with plastic wrap, and I'm just going to pour this over that. You want to cover your pastry cream right away because we don't want like a skin forming on the top. So you have to cover it right away. Like I said, I'm using a baking sheet. You can just put it in a bowl. Okay. And spread that out. And then I'm just going to, like so. So it's really hot. Now, we want to cool that down to room temperature. By room temperature, I mean 65 to 70 degrees, which would be, that's Fahrenheit, 18 to 21 C. So then we'll mix our pastry cream at that temperature with our butter. So at this point, I would take out your butter because we want to cool that down and we want to warm up our butter to around the same temperature, the 65 to 70 degrees, because we're going to be beating these together and we want them at the same temperature. Now, so we're going to do that while we make our choux. But, you know, if you want to make something ahead of time, you could make your pastry cream like the day before and just put it into the refrigerator. You know, if you don't want to do everything on the same day. So you could do that, put it in the refrigerator, and then the next morning bring it up to room temperature. But we're not. We're going to do it all now. So I'm going to do that, and next we're going to start our choux pastry. So now we're going to make our choux pastry. So first, preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 180 degrees Celsius. And then you will need a baking sheet, line it with parchment paper, and then we are going to pipe our choux in a ring shape. So I like to make a template. So I'm making a 3.5-inch ring, which is 9 centimeters. So you can either use a bowl or a cookie cutter and have a felt marker. And for the amount of choux we're making, you will get 7 3.5-inch 9 centimeter rings. So once you do that, then we're going to flip that over. But first, I'm going to put a little bit of cooking spray, or you could put oil, just so that when I go to pipe, my parchment paper doesn't move around. Kind of good little trick there. Okay, so that's that. And then, like I said, we're going to pipe our choux. So have a large piping bag. I'm actually using, this is a 1/2-inch, 1.25 centimeter star tip. I'm going to do a nice star shape. You could just use a plain, a 1/2-inch, 1.25 centimeter plain tip as well. So have that ready. Now, choux is kind of this unusual pastry. It's one that we got to cook on the stove and then we're going to bake in the oven. So you will need a saucepan. And first, put 1/4 cup, 60 milliliters, 60 grams of milk, and 1/4 cup, 60 grams of just water. 4 tablespoons, 55 grams of butter. And I've cut my butter into small pieces so it melts faster in here. I'm using unsalted butter. And then 1/2 teaspoon, which is 2 grams of granulated white sugar, and 1/4 teaspoon, 1 gram of salt. I'm putting my salt and my sugar in here so that it'll dissolve as this warms up. So I'm going to put this over medium-high heat, and we're going to bring this up to a boil. And while that's happening, you want to have ready a half a cup, 65 grams of all-purpose flour. You may know that as plain flour. And then I'm just going to give it a whisk. You could sift it. So we are ready. We'll just wait for this to boil. Okay, you can see we are up to a boil. I'll take that off the heat, and then I'm going to immediately add my flour. Now you can use a wooden spoon or a heat-proof spatula, and then I'm just going to stir the flour into there till it's all moistened. And then we're going to put it back on the heat and cook it. I want to get rid of that flour taste. So just, you can see that, that's what we're looking for. We're going to put this back on the heat, and especially if you're new to choux pastry, you might want to have a timer. So we're going to cook this on medium-low heat for about 1 minute. What we're looking for is to get like a nice smooth, kind of satiny looking ball of dough that clears the sides, and there might be a little bit of a film on the bottom. So I'm going to put my timer on and stir it the whole time, and then also just keep stirring a nice smooth ball. If you keep turning it, it won't break your ball of dough. Almost there. I'm happy with that. Okay, I'm going to take it off. Turn my timer off so it's not beeping on us. So this is what? You've got a nice smooth ball of dough. That's it. So now we're going to beat this. So I'm just going to move this out of the way and get my mixer. I'll be right back. Okay, so now I'm going to put my ball of dough. If you have a stand mixer like I have here, use your paddle attachment. You could use a hand mixer, or really some people just do it all by hand right in the pot, so you could do that as well. So what I'm going to do, our dough is very hot, so I want it to cool down a bit. It's about lukewarm. So I'm just going to put my mixer on low speed, and then just, that will beat, and you'll see some steam get released. So maybe I'm going to beat this low speed, maybe a minute. Feel that? Yeah, it's pretty lukewarm. I'm just going to put that just on low speed. I'll talk louder. And you want to have 2 large eggs, 100 grams. Have your eggs at room temperature and whisk them. And then what I'm going to do is add about 3/4 of the egg to the mixture. And then just keep your mixer on low, medium-low speed. And we're going to beat that until it becomes a smooth paste. It's going to kind of break apart, look kind of like a mess, but just keep beating it. Or if you're doing it in your saucepan, just keep stirring it. So I've added, about 3/4 of our egg. Now what you're looking for is we want, and this isn't there yet, it's too thick. We want it to, when we kind of go like this, it'll fall like in a long V that doesn't have jagged sides, and I'm not there yet. So I'm going to add the remainder of our egg. See, I would say this is the tricky part. How much egg is enough? But I will show you. But I'm going to add all of this, and then we will check it. Okay, so that's all mixed in. That's our 2 eggs. So I am going to check it and show you. And we may have to add a little more egg. It depends. So just give it a real good stir. And then I don't know whether you can see that, it's a V, but it's still kind of jagged. So I think it needs, not much, but, maybe a teaspoon or so more of egg. Now, luckily, we have to egg wash our choux, so you will need another egg anyway. So it's not like you're going to waste an egg here. So I have my egg for my egg wash. And I'm only going to add, I don't even think I'll add a tablespoon, less than that. Because what I want is that long V, but it nice and smooth on the sides. So you may have to adjust, use more or less than what I'm using here, but you've got to look, it's how your choux looks at home. Okay, and I'll beat that in. Okay, I think I'm there. Okay, so just clean this all off. Don't want to waste. And then always give before you check it, give it a good stir. And then, see, it's a nice V, really nice sides. I'm happy with that. Falls nice. So we are ready. Like I said, at home, you're just going to have to go and check it. Now, take your piping bag. Now, whenever I fill a piping bag, what I do is I twist it and then stick it in there like that, so that when I fill the bag, the filling doesn't come out until I'm ready for it to come out. So just fold down. Now, if you were the first time, what you can do is just put your whole piping bag in a glass if you find it hard to balance. Keep that egg, like I said, that egg that we have we're going to egg wash our choux once it's piped. It's going to give a nice shine. And just, if you want to, you can double this recipe. If you want lots of choux, you can actually pipe it onto your baking sheet, and you can freeze unbaked choux. So you could put it in the freezer, till it's frozen, then take it out, put it in a bag, and you could freeze that for about a month and then bake them off frozen. So it's something you can do ahead. You may have to add a minute or two longer to the baking because you're doing it frozen. So now I'm just going to use a flat edge here to get down. And use, this one holds and this one is a guide. So I'm going to pipe inside my line. And then just overlap a bit, like so. Okay. I had to go to the bottom of that to get that final one done. Okay, there we have it. So now we're going to egg wash. So you need a pastry brush, just lightly. You don't want a real thick coating, you just want a nice light coating to give it shine. So I'll do one here and show you. And then once you have done that, then you put almonds on top. I got sliced, shaved are fine. I like lots. Like so. Okay, and I'm going to do the rest. Okay, so our last one here. Okay, so now to bake our choux. First, everyone's oven is a little different. Now, what we're going to do is bake it at 20 minutes at the 350 Fahrenheit, 180 Celsius. And that your choux will rise a bit, and that's going to set that the outside crust of our choux. And then after 20 minutes, we're going to lower the temperature to 325 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 165 degrees Celsius, and we're going to bake it for a further, I find about 30 minutes in my oven, so I'm going to say 25 to 30 minutes. And you want them to be golden brown, and I mean a deep golden brown. The problem with choux is, that people find is, you could bake it and then it looks done, but when you cut it, it's kind of still wet inside. And if that happens, then what will happen once you take it out of the oven is your choux deflates. So you really have to bake it till a deep golden brown, and when you touch it, it's hard. Do not open your oven for about at least the first 3/4 of the way through your baking time. So 20 minutes at 350, 180, and then drop to 325, 165 Celsius, and bake for another 25 to 30 minutes. And it should be done. Okay, so our choux is done. As you can see, beautiful golden brown. If I feel them, they're nice and firm. So put your baking sheet on a wire rack, and then I'm going to let these cool down completely. And when we come back, we will make our hazelnut praline cream. So now for our hazelnut praline cream. If you have a stand mixer like I have here, use your paddle attachment, or you could just use a hand mixer. So we kind of go back to the beginning of the video. 3 components. We have our pastry cream, we need butter, and our hazelnut praline paste. Now you will need 1 1/4 cups, 300 grams of the pastry cream. You'll have a little left over. Very nice on some fresh fruit. Maybe mix it with some whipped cream, or use it to fill a big tart shell for you can make a fruit tart. Anyways, and then you will need 6 tablespoons, 85 grams of butter. I'm using unsalted butter. Now the important thing here is that your pastry cream and your butter are at the same temperature. You want them at room temperature, 65 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 18 to 21 C. If you have like an infrared, I'm going to get technical, and I want them both, and they're both at about the same temperature, because we're going to beat them together. We want a nice smooth, creamy smooth cream. So you want them at the same temperature. So just put your cream and the butter. Whoop. And I'm going to beat this on medium-high speed, you know, a couple minutes. One, I wanted to mix them all together, and I wanted to get like quite fluffy, light and fluffy, so 2-3 minutes. Okay, looks good. So you can see here, a beautiful, smooth and creamy. Now, some of the problems you could have, if you have little lumps in there, then maybe your butter was a little too cold still. You could let this just sit on the counter a bit, let the mixture heat up, and then re-whip it. Conversely, if it's kind of soupy, then, you know, maybe it was too warm, so then you could just put it into the refrigerator for a little bit, just let it firm up, and again, whip it, beat it again. So now we are going to add yummy praline, hazelnut praline paste, 1/4 cup, 75 grams. You might have, sometimes you can find it in specialty food stores, usually comes in a can. You can buy it online. That's what I did, you know, Amazon, or there's various places to buy it. It is so good. I mean, really good. Now, could you use something else? Yes. Now, you could use Nutella. That's a lot sweeter. This isn't that sweet. It's just mainly hazelnuts. So if you use Nutella, you know, it will be a little sweeter. You could even use like peanut butter if you wanted to. Just something, you know, like this is, it's a thick consistency. So something like that, peanut butter, of course it's going to taste different, but it's still good. So, and when it comes in the can, it can separate. The oil can be on the top, so just give it a really good stir before you measure it out. It is so good. But of course, pastry cream butter in the hazelnut praline paste. How could it not be good? So, I'm just going to beat this in. And we are done. Kind of an easy cream. You know, once you got your pastry cream done, then, whoop, slop there. Okay. Just going to beat that for just a second here. And we're done. Okay, it looks good. And you can taste your cream, and if you want to add more of the praline paste, go ahead. This will give you, you know, a nice hazelnut flavor, but not overpowering. So now, let's get that mixture. You know, you could use this praline cream to, like, as a cake filling. I mean, you don't just have to use it to make Paris-Brest. Other uses as well in the kitchen. So now, we have our choux, our ring. We need to cut it in half horizontally. I like a serrated knife. And just kind of put that in there. Kind of do it in half. And just go around. Okay, and there we have it. It's nice and dry. That's what we're looking for. So I've done all the rest. So I'll just do a couple here. So again, I'm using this same tip, that 1/2 inch, 1 1/4 centimeter star tip for this. And again, make sure you stick in the end there. And like I said before, you could put it in a glass if you find that easier. Again, if you're working in a really warm kitchen and your cream, even at this point, is really soft. Mine's a little soft because it's pretty warm in here. You could put it into the refrigerator. I'll just put it like that for now, just to show you. So my cream, like I said, it's a little warm in here. It's a little soft. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pipe. So I'm going to pipe just like that. I guess that's rosettes, is it? Stars, whatever. Like so. Now my cream is a little soft, and then I'll show you a different way you could pipe. You could kind of just go around like this. Like so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do them all, and I don't want to put the tops on. What I'm going to do is take my whole baking sheet and put it into the refrigerator, and I'm going to let that cream set up, maybe half an hour so it's nice and firm Otherwise, right now, if I put this on, it might squash my cream, and I don't want that because I want, when I put it on from the side, to be able to see those really nice piped things. So that's what I'm going to do. Finish off, put it in the refrigerator for about a half an hour, and then when we come back, we will put the tops on, a little dusting of powdered sugar, and we will taste it. So now our cream is firm, so I can take the tops and put on top like so. Now, what I like to do at this point, once I put all this, is I don't like to serve them right away because this choux is still quite firm, and if, that one goes there, if I was to cut into that, it's kind of going to squish it. So I recommend, once you do this, put this into, you can cover it and put it into the refrigerator for at least an hour before serving. And that way the cream will soften that choux because, okay, I'll just cut one anyway to show you. I'll sacrifice one. So what you do before serving is nice. So if I cut this, I'm going to have to, the choux is so firm, I got to kind of squish that cream, like so. But, I mean, it's still really good. Oh. Now that choux, like I said, is quite crisp. And the cream, that praline, hazelnut praline cream, is just delicious. Now this one, I actually made yesterday. So the choux is soft. So I don't even see that. I can cut that really easily. And it's not going to squish. As you can see. When you see that, still looks, you see that nice piping? And actually, after a day, the cream kind of, it softens, or just, I think it gets even better. And then the choux softens and it really becomes nice. Now, unfortunately, Paris-Brest doesn't hold very long. 24 hours is maximum. So I'm eating this, it's 24 hours. That's like the maximum amount. I mean, I have kept them 2 days in the refrigerator. They're still pretty good, but you will notice a little bit, the texture of the choux isn't quite as nice. So just keep that in mind. Try to serve them within 24 hours. But really, okay, this is not for every day. But, you know, if you're really into baking and want a project or a special occasion, I recommend trying these because, I mean, they're fun to make and they are so good to eat. So until next time, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com.